What's going on, fellow Vectorspace holders? I know it's been a rough correction we're seeing here. It always is when we have such a massive run up in price. Uh, looking at this from the lows, basically we did a 20x from this long consolidation range. And, the real breakout was right here, in my opinion, from a $1.42 area, and then we made our high here at 524, and it looks like on the Uniswap chart, I think we've already made it down quickly to this area, and of course people are going to buy this up like crazy after such a big move to the upside, and we're having a typical retracement. Kind of looks like we made this massive head and shoulder, and on the retest of our neckline, you can see retested, rejection, and now we're just kind of following down in this falling wedge pattern. Every time we've touched this, we made a touch here, made a touch here, made a touch here. Are we going to break down below this descending line and come down on the Coin Metro chart to test this area? I think it's very possible that we could actually come down as low as $3.50 to $5 very briefly, and there's also a very good chance that we don't come down that low because we've tested it on the Uniswap chart, and that's where most of the liquidity is. And so liquidity is just a big issue, and a lot of cryptos die because of liquidity, and that's kind of why we're seeing this extremely deep retracement, and why I think it could come down all the way to this $5 level is because we have support here. We could, call this previous resistance, and we just went up. We never came down, consolidated, and retested to turn this 515 area into support. We just went up. So the buying frenzy happened, and what happens is that a lot of times we do come back down and retest these areas and have a reaccumulation before making our next move up. So I actually would draw the fib from here, and you can see how perfectly the 786 fib level and still can be a higher low we're putting in here. I would say unless we close a daily candle below 258, we're still bullish. I know that's hard to think, and it was hard for people when I posted on Twitter and said this is a possibility that we come down here. Oh yeah, as if we're going to go another 50% down. It's like, yeah, absolutely we can within a bull market, and we can still look at this chart and say it looks bullish. Okay, now if this just never ends and we keep just have a falling wedge down back to $1, then yeah, we can say it's all over. But I do not think the company, Vectorspace AI, the CEO, and everybody involved with it is going to let that happen. I think that, yeah, there are some big wallets taking profits. They got a bunch of tokens for pennies. They invested years ago. They've waited all this time. So we have to let them do their selling, take their profits, just like we plan to do after accumulating at the levels we're accumulating at. We plan to take our profits much higher up and much later on. These people have already held for years, and so you can't get mad. Why are these people selling now? What's wrong with them? Are they stupid? No, they're not stupid. They're looking at millions in profit, and they're taking profit. They know it can go higher, and they're going to hold some of their tokens to sell at $30, to sell at $50, and to sell at $100. So look, I accumulated at $1. I did take some profits at different levels. I thought would be a good place to take profits, and so now I can hold tight and I can be patient because I've taken my profits. I can pay my capital gains taxes, and I can do all the things I need to do to feel like I'm in pretty much a risk-free trade at this point, and I still have a really big position. So if this thing goes to $30 or $50, I will take more profits and take more of my position out. And I think, yes, long-term Vectorspace AI could be a $100 billion company, and their patented code, their tech, their AI, whatever you want to call it, however you want to look at it, it could be adopted by many of the biggest companies and institutions in the world. If what Cajun is trying to do works, all we need is Morningstar, and we need hedge funds and institutions to begin paying for these data sets and begin paying for these data feeds. And we're set. This thing could be worth $50 billion and could do a 100x from current prices with just that. So the scope of what they're trying to do is tremendous, and that's why I like it. When I researched it, I was like, this thing's only at a couple bucks. Why wouldn't I take a position in this? And so yeah, I'm in this. I know there's a lot of FUD going around, and I know people are disappointed that an exchange listing doesn't happen right away and that it takes time, but you have to look at it from a company that's trying to be, they don't want to deal with lawsuits because they signed a contract with an exchange that's not regulated in the United States of America and have their token traded. They signed a contract to have their token traded. If KuCoin just listed it because they wanted to and just bought up a bunch of tokens off the market and just did it on their own accord, Vectorspace AI wouldn't have to worry about it. But they're asking to be listed and they're signing a contract with the company. So I don't see why it's a big issue to review that and to try to do things the right way, because they are playing the longer term game. So I think it's a good call that they want to make sure they're not going to get into any trouble or be in the targets of the SEC. And I don't think they will be, because number one, they didn't do an ICO. And, let's face it, the SEC cannot go after every single crypto company. And why would they try to go after the ones like Vectorspace AI, who has a utility token? It's not a security. And, anybody who tries to argue that it is and slap them on the wrist, I don't think that a lawsuit like that's going to go anywhere. So I don't think they have anything to worry about with the SEC. But I do understand that they're evaluating a little bit more and having lawyers look at whether they could be held liable for listing on KuCoin. And is that a good move when they could just wait a little longer and potentially have a Coinbase listing? Personally, I'd much rather see them on Coinbase and be able to trade on Coinbase because it's know your customer and they have Coinbase custody. I would much rather see a Coinbase listing than see them list on KuCoin just for a short-term pump and to get a bunch of retail investors interested in buying it. I mean, yes, it will be good for the price short term. Yes, I do want it to get listed on KuCoin, but I completely understand that they're taking their time about it. And it's kind of silly. Why didn't they, why even apply to KuCoin if they weren't sure it was going to be a thing? And I guess the answer to that could be that, well, they didn't know what the contract would be that they'd be signing with the exchange. So having a legal team review it is a good idea. I'm sure that Quant Network did the exact same thing, and Quant Network came to the conclusion that, it's okay to list it on KuCoin. Very unlikely that they're ever going to see any sort of repercussions from that. So the fact that KuCoin, Quant Network did this same thing. They had no exchanges, nothing. We held the coin forever. It drove us all nuts. When are you guys going to get on Binance? When are you going to get on Coinbase? Please, God, just give us an exchange to be on so that more people can accumulate the token. And look what happened. We got on KuCoin. We had that long area where we were in the $40 area just ranging. A lot of people became holders, high conviction holders, I might add. I think a lot of people are very high conviction with holding Quant Network. It's my number one position now, currently in terms of US dollar value. Vectorspace, because it did this huge run up, it was my number one holding for a while in US dollar value. But I personally think that QNT and Vectorspace, those are my two biggest holdings. I love Terra Luna. I hold quite a bit of Luna. I hold Alliance Block. I've got several other small positions, but my two highest conviction positions are Quant Network being number one. I think the fundamentals are hard to beat and the tokenomics are hard to beat. Vectorspace is number two. I just like it. I like it, less because of the fundamentals of the project, more because it reminds me so much of Quant Network. Just being on a crappy exchange with no liquidity and having such a strong use case, a strong company behind it that's going to generate revenue and keep the token price sustained to the upside. And so, yeah, that's the reason I bought a position in it, because it reminded me a lot of Quant Network. And when I researched it, I like their technology, even though it's patented and you can't see what their actual code is doing. So is it, if time will only tell whether people value it higher than other data learning, or yeah, I'm fumbling my words right now. I can't think. It's too early. But the point is, guys, is that I see the similarities with Quant Network, and I think it does a similar type of run. I think that it's gonna do a nice run up in this bull market. And if there's something I'm gonna hold long term or become a bag holder of, I want to hold Quant Network and Vectorspace, because I don't need life-changing profits to happen right now. It can be a year from now, it could be 3 years from now, or 5 years from now. Making a 5x on your money in a year is great. And so I've already made some good gains with QNT. I've already made some good gains with Vectorspace. But I'm definitely not going to be selling here. Looking at the chart, it's doing a normal retracement, and there's no reason to sell, especially if we come down in here and test this demand, right? This is support. So if we come down and retest this area, I mean, we really didn't have enough support here. That's why we're just bleeding out. We need to test this area, have reaccumulation, and then we'll head to $30 and $50 as the logical, TA-based fib extension targets, and then we'll see what happens. If that completes our 5-wave move to the upside on a macro, then our 5-wave move could end up being at $100. It can become an extended move to the upside, and we could hit much higher targets. So we'll see what happens, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for it to hit 100 to 250 in a dream bull scenario. So I'm definitely not going to just dump all my tokens as soon as we retest $20. I think that would be a big mistake. Be patient and you'll be rewarded, and don't flip-flop positions. I see some people, they flip-flop their positions, and the risk of that is that as soon as you sell all your Vectorspace and roll all that into, let's say, Alliance block, or let's say you decide to go all in on some other coin, maybe you buy a bunch of QNT, that would be a good move, I think, but the risk with that is that this outperforms QNT, and then you're feeling like, shit, if only I just held my Vectorspace. It actually, these data sets are working out, and now this company is generating 100 million or 200 million profits a year. And what I'm looking for is that utility token where we have, all these people like in the SHIB community, they make a ton of money off their SHIB tokens, and they say, what, maybe I should diversify and buy some Vectorspace or Quant Network, because that's a good longer term investment. And I know that, if you look at Dogecoin and what it's done in the past, maybe Shiba Inu will follow, even though maybe it does have better token utility, maybe it does have deflationary tokenomics, and maybe it does deserve to be a number 10 by market cap. But I do think people that are in these what started out as meme tokens, I think that these cryptos, people will eventually diversify into, as they do more research and as the cycle evolves. Later in the cycle, people will rotate profits into utility tokens. We've seen it in Quant Network for 2 years now that it lags a lot of the other lower cap or mid cap tokens. It just seems like it's just never going to go up, and then all of a sudden, boom, it does. But it tends to be a laggard. Now, that might change now that it's on Coinbase, Binance, etc. It may be less of a laggard, but and it is now in the top 100. Vectorspace, it's got a lot of room to grow before it's even at that stage. So I think it might be a laggard. People will get shaken out, but after this move up here, we had this consolidation, kind of a falling wedge. After this move up here, consolidation, falling wedge. I mean, it looks the same to me. So boom, I think we're going to $30, and when it happens, if you're not positioned for it, I think it's going to be hard to get in a position, because this whole move here, look at this. This is a weekly chart, guys. 1-2 weeks up, little consolidation of 3 weeks sideways. Look at this weekly candle. So within a week, it did 279%. And who's to say that with proper exchanges and liquidity and market making, this can't do a 500% move in a month? So, I think it probably will be some sideways weeks here once we find a bottom, once we retest this area here, since we're really in no man's land at all. Like right now, this price here, we're just in no man's land. The reason we haven't already retested down here is just because nobody's selling at this price. Nobody in their right mind is, at least, unless they just go, well, opportunity cost. I don't want to be sitting here waiting for Vectorspace to go up. There's no KuCoin exchange, so I'm just going to sell and put my money into Shiba Inu because it's pumping, and they might make some short-term Shiba Inu profits, sell their Shiba Inu, and then rebuy, because this is just, there's probably is time to accumulate, but I say probably. Who knows? Somebody could come in and just all of a sudden pump this like crazy. I mean, if you look at the books on CoinMetro and all that, I mean, there's just not a lot of liquidity. A few $1 million in buying is going to send the price up probably back to $15 or $20. So all it takes is for a few crypto hedge funds to decide they want to buy, and this thing's going to do pretty well. So I'm going to stay in my Vectorspace position. Usually at the times where you feel like selling and you feel really down about the project and the sentiment is perfect that we are at or near a bottom, and we've been getting there. And I've been saying, guys, look at the signs on Uniswap. There's big buy orders coming in, and all the sell orders are piddly little sell orders of 500 tokens or 1,000 tokens. So it's people who bought a position and then they're like, actually, no, I think I want to just own Shiba Inu. And that's what people are doing right now. But to me, people say, ooh, that's end of the cycle, right? That's a sign of the end of the cycle. But wasn't it Dogecoin that pumped really hard, that kind of set us up for a new altcoin cycle? I think I remember that, and a lot of people say, ooh, Dogecoin is the beginning. Dogecoin pumping is the beginning of alt season. So now I'm going to say Shiba Inu pumping is the beginning of alt season, and look at what Shiba Inu has done. I mean, jeez, what a crazy chart to look at SHIB, and oof, man. Yeah, anybody who shorted this is going to be doing pretty good. But I personally wouldn't dare try to short something that has been so strong. So anyway, my investing or even trading an asset in the crypto space, I tend to stay away from tokens that are kind of meme tokens, if they don't have true utility, if they don't have public figures that are involved that are known, because the reason is that within the DeFi space, I don't care if somebody's anonymous. as long as their protocol is trustworthy. But you do see a lot of these things get hacked. A lot of these things are rug pulls, right? So if I'm going to put a lot of money into something and have high conviction in it, I'm not buying something like SHIB, because I don't know. You can't go to a website and see the person's real name that they developed it. So there's no recourse if they do something shady, and you know, there's just, and you lose all your money. It could be devastating. Imagine if you had $100,000 worth of SHIB, and you know, it just boom. Okay, eventually it probably will come back to retest this area. You know, it's going to drop 80 to 90%, guaranteed. Will Vectorspace do the same thing? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Will Quant Network do the same thing? Maybe it will, but I think the tokenomics and fundamentals, I think, will sustain the price. So if it falls really hard, the thing is that it's more likely to recover in a bear market and hold a stable price, versus something like this could go sideways for 3 years and never come back to these prices where a lot, you know, this is where a lot of people bought. So what if it never comes back to this level? So that's my whole reason, and I know you guys are like-minded and think the same way as me, and that's why you're into QNT, Alliance Block, and all these other utility tokens, is because we know that there is a real use case, and they are going after institutions, big companies, government use, all those different use cases. And once they become like, you know, once Vectorspace's data sets are used and they produce alpha and give people an edge in the markets, they do become incredibly valuable, because a hedge fund can make, you know, huge, you know, if they can really make a big return using data sets to create alpha, I mean, that is, and it can do a better job than other companies that are doing the same thing, then that's a game changer. So anyway, not to get too far off into the fundamentals, but to me, this chart looks bullish, and just zoom out, guys, and look, you know, this is November 2020 that it just got listed on CoinMetro. So give it some time, get some perspective. This market has time to go higher, and who knows, maybe Vectorspace ends up, maybe we miss out on this bull run and it doesn't do a 20x, but it will eventually. And the fundamentals, nothing's changed with the fundamentals, nothing has changed with the team. They're doing things the right way, they're taking their time. So, you know, in the long run, this is going to be a better asset to own. If you want short-term profits, absolutely. Diversify and have some positions in some of these different things that could potentially do really, really well. If you make some gains and are able to lock them in, that's great. And then you can buy more Vectorspace tokens. So short-term profits, roll it into longer-term investments. That's a great strategy. I think that's what a lot of people are doing. And then once this thing truly takes off, that's where you lock in your life-changing gains. So anyway, I'm going to sign off for now. You guys be careful, and standard disclaimer, this is not financial or trading advice. I could be absolutely wrong, but I hope that me sharing my thoughts with you is helpful. Please do like my videos and share them with any other fellow Vectorspace holders. Thank you very much. Have a great day.